It is now my absolute pleasure to introduce to you the Director of Clinical Trials BC and the co-chair for this meeting. Alison Orth is here to give you some opening remarks from Clinical Trials BC.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just really grateful for the Coastal Wolfpack for sharing that beautiful singing and drumming and dancing with us today. We really are grateful to be holding this Day of Learning on the Musqueam Nation and Coast Salish territory. I think the performance is a reminder that their culture is strong and powerful, and really they brought joy to my heart today, and I hope yours as we start out on our Day of Learning. On behalf of Clinical Trials BC, I would like to welcome you to our symposium today. We're absolutely thrilled that we have more than 450 attendees joining us today, and 150 are in the room with us. We have in person and virtually from all parts of BC and beyond. Thank you for being here, and to our planning committee at Clinical Trials BC for putting together such a fantastic day. And to our moderators, our speakers who have traveled from BC, Canada, and the US to talk about how we can better enable participation in clinical trials. Our symposium is aimed to bring together BC's clinical trial community to share knowledge and discuss how we can build a more robust clinical trial ecosystem that is aimed to improve health and healthcare across our province. As part of Michael Smith Health Research BC, BC's research agency, we are working towards a future where BC is recognized worldwide for its vibrant, coherent, inclusive, and globally competitive health research system, which improves the health of British Columbians, the health system, and our economy. Our work to make this a reality is well underway. We are contributing to a growing clinical trials workforce. We are actively supporting and developing provincial systems. We are strengthening and expanding the clinical trial community across the province, and we recently led the development of a provincial vision for clinical trials. Some of our current priorities are focused on developing the clinical trial ready workforce, and we do have a robust compliance and training, quality training program with over 30 workshops, lectures, and training sessions that are made available to investigators, clinical research professionals, and other trial team members and administrators across BC. Our exam preparation and funding program helps our clinical research professionals to get certified with either ACRP or SOCRA professional associations. And this fall, we were pleased to celebrate reaching 100 professionals who have gone through this program. We do support the training and professional development through our own work, but also through partnerships with N2 Canada and ACRP and other colleagues across BC at our research institutes who are passionate about providing learning opportunities for the trial community. Just last year, we provided access to our electronic learning and resources for 1,160 new learners who completed more than 3,100 courses. We also have enable and support provincial systems and infrastructure for clinical trials. The provincial clinical trial management system now has over 58 sites across 6 health authorities in BC and has supported more than 1,200 clinical trials through this platform. Reach BC, which you will hear about later, now has, and that's our provincial recruitment platform, now has 6,700 volunteers and over 1,100 researchers that have signed up. And through this platform, volunteers have participated in more than 600 studies. Another area of focus for us is community engagement. I hope you all know that we have an annual clinical trial awards celebrating leadership and advocacy and service or support of the community in BC. Last year's awards went to Dr. Ann Junker, Associate Professor Emeritus in Pediatrics, UBC, BC Children's Hospital, and Victor Espinosa of Island Health. Now, the nominations for this 2024 awards is open, but only until December 10th. So if you would like to nominate a very deserving colleague or group, please get those nominations in by the 10th and visit our information booth at the back for more information. Many of you participated in the consultation meetings that we had to develop a provincial vision for clinical trials. In 2022, we engaged 170 stakeholders from our community from around the province and Canada to gain a better understanding of BC's clinical trial strengths, challenges, and what opportunities there are for us. As a result, we now have a shared provincial vision for clinical trials, and this was endorsed by the Ministry of Health and widely disseminated. Within that vision, there are 13 collective priorities for our community to advance on. One of those priorities is to advance person-centered approaches and designs to create a clinical trial experience that is culturally safe, trauma-informed, inclusive, accessible, and available to all who want to participate. Now, there's a lot in that one priority, and we are going to talk about that more today. There's also a lot of words in there, and I think they mean different things to different people in different ways. But what would it look like to realize that vision in BC? Whether it's at your site, your organization, in your practice. And I do want you to take a moment to reflect on that and what would it actually look like if we were to realize that vision. I would like you to reflect on that throughout today, but to me what that looks like would be adaptable and flexible trial design that is informed by patients, healthcare professionals, and communities. There would be easy to access and understandable clinical research participation information leaflets and consent forms. People would have options to learn about and participate in trials regardless of where they lived in British Columbia. There would be support for travel, childcare, and other expenses to participate in trials. Trial centers would have flexible clinic hours and virtual options where it's feasible. And our participants would have culturally safe participation experiences. To realize BC's vision, we need more approaches to enable accessible clinical trials. And so this year's symposium focuses on new approaches and technology that make clinical trials more accessible to participants, clinical researchers, and research team members, and even different groups or communities. We know from our prior research with Canadians' experience with clinical trials that many people choose to participate for altruistic reasons rather than personal benefits. This is especially true for healthy volunteers and also parents who enroll their children in trials. It is also well known by our clinical trial community that there can be a high level of burden for people who participate in clinical trials. If we think about those who decline to participate, the top reasons include they did not have time due to work or other commitments, the trial was too burdensome or demanding, they would participate if the trial was offered outside of their working hours, and they wish to be paid more to cover their time and their expenses. The logistical challenges associated with clinical trial participation add another layer to the overall burden. Participants often find themselves navigating a complex web of time constraints, financial pressures, and coordination challenges. The need for frequent visits to study sites, adherence to a strict schedule of tests and procedures, and the potential for travel to specialized healthcare centers can create significant logistical hurdles. If we think about an individual who resides in a rural area and is participating in a trial conducted in a distant urban center, those logistical challenges include arranging transportation, managing time away from work or family, and potentially facing financial burden related to travel and accommodation. These challenges can even be further difficult in certain populations or those with chronic advances. They may already face limitations in mobility and resources to participate. Another challenge to address is we need to consider underrepresented populations in our trials. Those include, but are not limited to, children and adolescents. They're not just small adults. Older adults. Many protocols have an upper age limit for participation. Pregnant and breastfeeding women, newcomers to Canada or those with language barriers, and Indigenous people in their communities. When regulatory or policy decisions are made about new treatments or changes in treatment or healthcare, we need to have information about how this works in the population and the people who will be using this product or intervention. It is important that these people and populations are able to participate in clinical trials, and it is our collective responsibility to address these barriers. Incorporating accessible approaches into your trial protocol or clinical trial practice or at your site can help address logistical barriers, reduce burden, and be inclusive of underrepresented groups. I am delighted that we have a wonderful lineup of speakers today who are going to share their best practices, tools, methods, resources, and their ideas on all of these topics, so we can learn together throughout the day. Please participate actively in the symposium by asking questions, sharing your experiences, and engaging in discussions. This is a day for us to share knowledge, learn from others, and to take action. One thing I hope each of you can do throughout this day is make a note to yourself of ideas or approaches that would be feasible and relevant to your own day-to-day work. This may mean you need to discover new partners or collaborators. You may need to take the lead on something or identify places and spaces where you can actually work to strengthen work of others. It can be a small thing or a bold new undertaking, but every action matters, and together we can see the changes we need to make clinical trials person-centered and accessible to all those who wish to participate. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the day.